You again? Well, it looks like you stayed out of the cops' radar. Well, I am leaving soon. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch the fight tonight. Well, I guess I can fit some reading in. It'll be a quick one though, okay? Close call. My wound has soaked through the bandages. I unwrap it. The cut is infected and oozing pus. More hydrogen peroxide, antibiotic ointment. Wrap it up in clean bandages. Fall back into fits of troubled sleep. How long do I sleep? How many hours elapse? Sometimes it's daylight, other times it's dark. The stars move crazily through the windows. Every time I regain consciousness, I'm aware of George at my side. Finally, my skin is cool, no more itchy, hot eyes. I rise up on my elbows, my head doesn't ache. George looks up at me from the floor, wags his stumpy tail. Hey there, buddy, how are you doing? He scoots on his belly to be closer to me. I rub his head. Thanks for taking care of me, sweet boy. I press my forehead to his. I don't know what I'd do without you. He licks my cheek and whimpers. You need something to eat, don't you? Poor baby. Come on. I get to the kitchen, find crackers and canned tuna. Collapse on the couch to check my cut. The angry red has faded. No longer appears infected. I clean and dress it. Sit back against the couch cushions. I'm already exhausted but relieved. I've managed to escape another close call. Autumn. Chill in the air. Days grow shorter. I fire up the minivan, drive all the way to Super Save for winter supplies. Back to Dad's house. Only drive when absolutely necessary. Conserve fuel. I walk and bike as much as possible, but the cut in my leg still slows me down. Puckery pink scar aches. Reading project. I am reading my way alphabetically through the fiction section of the library. Rule number 1. Skip the book if I don't like the first page. Rule number 2. Quit the book if it isn't interesting by page 21. That's a rule I agree upon. Rule number 3. Quit the book if there are no important female characters. Personally, I'm okay either way. Rule number 4. I can read books out of order if I want to. I don't. I have read 147 novels and 13 short story collections. I'm 3/4 of the way through the bees. Like Louisa May Alcott, love Charlotte Bronte. I get Jane Eyre. We get each other. We get loneliness. I can live alone if self-respect and circumstances require me to do so. I care for myself. The more solitary, the more friendless, the more unsustained I am, the more I will respect myself. Jane thinks my thoughts. I cling to the belief that my parents survived the evacuation. My parents are healthy and safe somewhere. My parents must know by now I was left behind. My parents will not rest until we are reunited. My parents will rescue me. My story will have a happy ending. Almanac. In the reference section of the library, I found an almanac with calendars going back hundreds of years in the past and forward hundreds of years in the future. I plot how many days and months have passed since I was left behind. If my calculations are correct, I've been alone in Millerville for 17 months, 11 days, and counting. Recommended teen fiction. The most popular books on the library shelf, the ones the girls at school pass around like popcorn, provide little comfort. To hell with these heroines who have entire dystopias rooting for them as they fight to save the day. Sure, their parents are missing in action, but I'd like to see them try to survive completely alone without any help from friends or teammates. Sure, they're brave most of the time, but they're part of something bigger. that inspires them when times are tough. Their societies are messed up, but at least they belong. Sure, I wish I had their skills and resources, but I wonder would they fare so heroically if faced with the vast loneliness and uncertainty that is my everyday experience. Not likely. And another thing, what about the imminent threat? What is so dangerous or so threatening that absolutely everyone had to leave? Seriously, everyone? Obviously, George and I are just fine, unless we're breathing some invisible poison gas that takes months and months to kill us, or an invading army is on its way, in which case they are taking their sweet time getting here, and I wish they'd hurry up, so at least someone, somewhere, would know I'm here. What did the TV call it? Operation Relocate Freedom? What does that even mean anyway? Misgivings. The looters said they had to get to the border. Which border? Can I possibly be the only person left in the entire western United States? I should leave Millerville, take the car and drive as far east as the gas will take me. Surely I'll find other people in other towns who have also been left behind or forgotten. Take the chance. Venture out. Seek help. If only I could be sure there was someone out there to find. And the person won't be a dangerous criminal or a psycho kitten killer. If only I could be sure I would survive. Then again, I've been across eastern Colorado and Kansas, and there's nothing but miles and miles of farmland. What if the car runs out of gas in the middle of nowhere? And even if I could get to a farmhouse, it would likely to be abandoned with limited supplies of canned foods and no bottled water. I would starve if I didn't freeze to death first. And even if I didn't run out of food or gas, what if I surprised more looters or came upon the ever so mysterious and oh so dangerous threat to national security that caused the evacuation in the first place? First best chance. Staying put is my first best chance of being found and rescued. The risks if I leave are too great. When frightening thoughts creep in, I will force them aside and visualize my parents coming to find me. I picture them driving in cars or flying in planes. I imagine them coming on foot or on horseback. I sometimes even imagine them flying across the prairie in a Star Wars land speeder. No force in the universe is strong enough to keep them apart from me. All George and I have to do is stay alive and we will be found. Winter. Overnight, the brown, wet world transforms into a frozen white frostland. I pull on my stepmother's snow gear. Mine has grown too small. Come on, George, let's go. I trample an icy path to the back shed, drag out my father's snowshoes. We stomp through the drifts, head up toward the road toward the Lake Park Trail. Not a single creature has disturbed the sparkly crust of snow, a glittery reminder of just how alone we really are. The only sounds we hear are our own heavy breaths and the wish-wish of snow pants striding back and forth. George bounds ahead, darts back, leaps up and down in the drifts like the lambs that used to play in the pasture next to my elementary school. I throw a snowball. He catches it in his mouth, but it explodes on impact. Up and on we trudge, cresting the summit of the trail to find Miner's Lake frozen and twinkling before us. On the snowy surface of the ice, tiny rabbit prints scamper from one shore to another despite the owls and coyotes that hunt here. We follow the trail, circling the lake, stop to listen to the snowy quiet, breathe the sharp, cold air. A shadow moves on the ground. A raptor's silhouette soars in the sky. We hunker down to watch. The bird circles the lake, lower and lower, until I see white feathers on the head and tail. Bald eagles often winter here, but I've never seen one this close before. The eagle catches an updraft, rises in the air, turns and glides down, lands on the ice just a few feet from the unfrozen center, poses there, majestic and still. So still, in fact, I think it has fallen asleep. My legs cramp from squatting. Then the bird bursts open and lifts off, clutching a fat fish in its talons, wings its way up over the treetops, out of sight. I can almost pretend. In Mom's neighborhood, the overgrown yards and gardens previously wowed from neglect are neat and tidy in their winter coats. The houses look cozy and comfortable, belying their frigid, empty interiors. I can almost pretend it's just an ordinary snowy morning. The rest of Millerville is still asleep. The most extraordinary event all day will be one equals a spectacular catch in the premature death of one unlucky bass. Book report. It feels wrong to trapeze through Mom's house, tracking snow on the carpet, but it's too cold to take off my boots. I think my mother would understand. I walk through the rooms, checking windows are latched and locked. Everything seems in order. In the dining room, a piece of paper sticks out from under the cabinet against the wall. Elliot's book report on Island of the Blue Dolphins. Karana, the challenge girl. In the book Island of the Blue Dolphins, there are 3 possible theses to prove which is the girl's biggest challenge. One is that Karana has to defend herself against the wild dogs. 2 is that Karana must provide food and shelter for herself. 3 is that Karana must learn to trust a friend. Obviously, the answer is 2, because if she doesn't find food and shelter, she will die, and then the other challenges don't matter. This is why the answer is defiantly 2, but there's another thing that makes her the challenge girl. She has to be alone on the island for 18 years. That's the total amount of life that my brother and I have been alive if you put our lives together and add them up. That's a very, 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 very long time. I agree that of the 3 choices, the most important challenge is the food and shelter one, but I think if I were the challenge girl, it'd be even harder for me to be alone for all that time. I mean, she can always fish and get food, and it isn't hard because it's her island already. But she has to keep herself company and give herself pep talks, and if she's sick or scared, she can't just call out to her mom to come take care of her. So I think that's what makes her the real challenge girl and not that other stuff. But if I have to choose from one of those 3 only, I guess I still choose 2. Grief. My tears smear the ink and run across the title. I blot it with my scarf. The paper blurs. Elliot was right. I was too stupid and self-centered to even realize it. Food and shelter are nothing compared to the challenge of never holding another person's hand, never hearing another person's voice. Staying alive isn't easy, but it's a heck of a lot easier than keeping my heart hopeful and my mind focused on what's real. Loneliness and insanity are twin house guests, and it's hard to entertain one without inviting the other in as well. Regret. My mind spins with memories. So many times I was rude to my step-parents. How I stiffened when Mom tried to kiss me goodnight. All the times I opted to stay in my room alone, sulking other than join Dad and Jennifer for a movie night. I'm ashamed. I would give anything just to see them, hear their voices, touch their hands. And Elliot, his handwriting sings into the emptiness of my heart. He and James must be 11 now. Do they even think of me? But she has to keep herself company and give herself pep talks. 9-year-old Elliot's words float before me. He is so smart. I have to give myself pep talks. I do have to keep myself company. Karana did it for 18 years and she was rescued. When it finally happened, she wasn't crazy with loneliness. She was excited. In her best dress and her jewelry, she walked proudly down to her rescuers, taking her animals with her. She was triumphant, not a victim. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, Madeline Albright Harrison. I startle George. He looks up from the rug where he was dozing. My parents didn't name me after the first woman Secretary of State, so that I'd turn into a pathetic pile of poo at the first sign of trouble. I haven't survived this long and worked this hard only to fall apart over a 4th grade homework assignment. I need to pull my sorry self together and get out of there to enjoy this beautiful day. I fold Elliot's book report and tuck it into the pocket of my parka. So I'm going to stop it there because it has like a really good point that I wanted to touch upon. And the reason why I wanted to touch upon it is because I've lost my mother and other major people in my life. And it's easy to be so angry and not want to like tell someone goodnight or that you love them or spend time with them. But honestly, like, once you lose them, it's too late. And you don't think about that when you don't lose people. But it happens, and it can happen unexpectedly. So make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them. Make sure that you know Make sure that they know that you appreciate them. Hug them while you still can. Because I would give anything to be able to hug my mother again. Much love.